Hi lovely people, it's Candy here, welcome back to my channel. Tonight I wanted to do a Q1 update on my depth year. So we're a quarter of the way through the year, we're in April now. What happened in the first quarter of my depth year? Now we're at the end of it. So that's what this video is going to be. It's going to be lessons learnt so far, tips and tricks and ideas if you're thinking of a depth year, and how I got on. So I wanted to start with how I'm feeling about my depth year. 3 months done. How am I actually feeling about it? And when I think about my depth year, it makes me think about my caravan in Wales and the big skies and how much I love those big skies and that view from my balcony. Big skies that help you to breathe and to feel free and to feel peace. The big skies of depth year, it's a really lovely thing. I am loving it. Just that empty space without the acquisition of things coming in and in and in, which I had in 2020, where shopping therapy was a thing. It's just a lovely space to be in. So yes, depth year, I'm loving it. There is a lot of peace and freedom to be found in a depth year. There's also excitement too, the excitement to go deep with the things I've already got. I'm loving that because I'm making a conscious, focused effort on not acquiring things so that I can use the things that I've already got more and can interact with those things more. There's a focus on it, and that brings an excitement too. I think the focus of a depth year on the things you've already got does make everything feel a lot more exciting. So I'm loving that as well. So the remit of my depth year that I announced about a month ago when I clarified what I was doing for depth year was an absolute no buy depth year for anything all year, no buy. Now, have I stuck to that? Because I said the devil was in the details. The rules were really important. They weren't to be flexible, because I learned in 2020 that if you're not really clear about the details, depth year is easy to cheat on. So have I stuck to these rigid rules? No. So there have been some breaks in Q1 of depth year. However, I have learnt from those. I've learnt from those the way that I want to do depth year. So first of all, 2 decks and 1 book. I'm going to show you the decks first. These are the things that I broke Q1 depth year on. The first one, and there are reasons, is this Iris Oracle. Now, this Oracle I'd seen a while ago, and I just knew that it was going to be a deck that I've not done a walkthrough yet of this. I knew it was going to be an Oracle deck that I really wanted to work with on a healing journey I'm currently in. I'm so nearly free of the grips of trauma, and I'm so sick of hearing that word trauma come out of my own mouth. And I'm nearly free of it, but I am still trying to loosen the grips of food addiction that's all linked to the trauma. Chakra healing as well. And some of these cards in this deck are so pertinent, and I've never seen key phrases or images that are so pertinent to my trauma healing. So cards like this one and things like this. Now, this isn't a deck that I lusted after, as in, oh, I must have that deck, I just want it. This was a deck that when I saw it, I felt like I actually needed it. I needed it for the work I'm doing, for the spiritual work I'm doing, for the growth that I'm in, for the healing work that I'm doing. I mean, some of these cards just really spoke to me. The one that absolutely sold it to me was this one. I am a twin. No contact with my twin. And when I saw it even had a twin card in here, this deck was just like, I really need to work with it. It's an indie deck. When I looked on Little Red Tarot, it was unavailable. When I looked on the artist's website to buy direct, it was quite pricey because it's an indie deck. Also, they no longer ship to the UK after Brexit, so unavailable in the UK. So I'd kind of given up on it. I'd given up on this deck, even though I still knew that I wanted to work with it. So I gave up on it, and then I got an alert come through. It was an alert that I hadn't cancelled just because I'd forgotten about it, that it was available for sale on eBay for from a UK seller, and she'd actually put in the description, this deck is no longer available in the UK. So at that point I thought, gosh, this might be my only chance to get this deck that I've so wanted and feel like I need. So I thought, well, what about depth? Yeah, I didn't just jump. It wasn't just an impulse buy. And I had to sit with that thought that I'd set that rigid no buy. I decided to be kind on myself. I thought that in this instance, I felt like there was a good enough reason to allow a deck to come in. However, with a nod to depth year, I put the minimum bid on and walked away and thought, if it's meant to be, it will be. So the opening bid started at £19, which I put on the deck. I didn't put a higher bid on, and I walked away and I won it. So not only was it an amazing bargain, but it also just felt like it was meant to be. It was a little bit battered around the edges when it came to me, so I edged it in black, and I did have a bit of a disaster because I've never edged a deck before, but because some of these cards were really white around these edges where they were all battered, I thought, well, I'll colour the sides in black and I'll cover over all the white bits. But after I'd edged it, I didn't like the smell, so I then made the huge mistake of spraying perfume on the deck to try and get rid of the smell, not thinking about the alcohol in perfume. And when I came to use it now later, it was all stuck together, and I had to peel it all apart, and it ripped off a lot of the black, and it ripped off some of the back as well on a lot of the cards. So I did initially think, see, the universe was telling you shouldn't have broken your rules. It was a lesson from the universe. But I've sat with that thought, and again, I'm being kinder to myself. I don't think it was. It was just a mistake. And putting the deck back together again, which I did, I don't think you can really tell now that it was almost ruined. It looks perfect, and the edging looks great. I felt like it was the deck saying to me, yeah, come on, let's sit in trauma together for a little bit, because that's what you're going to be using me for. Right, the second deck. Now, I said in my March Happies video that I sat using my daughter's tarot card, tarot deck, which I'd bought her for Christmas. We sat together and we did a couple of readings, and I was completely blown away by this deck. The whole time she was saying, you're not nicking it though, Mum, you're not nicking it. So I thought, wow, I would love to get a Hobbit deck. And I thought to myself, well, let's just have a little look. That's probably where the mistake was. Let's just have a little look and see what they're going for now. Because when I bought my daughter the same deck at Christmas, I paid about £36 for it. I don't know whether it's out of print, but I couldn't find it cheaper than that anywhere, and I found it secondhand. This time when I looked, they were all above £50, and I realised that this deck is going up in price, and it was already really out of my price bracket. So I thought, well, if I wait, then that'll be it. I'll never get it. And then, of course, that really kicked in. You won't get it if you wait. And I'd had two such powerful readings with it, and I didn't want to pinch my daughter's deck, that I really wanted it. So I did put an eBay search on, and I got in a week a alert through saying that one had come up from a UK seller, and I got it for £20. So it just seemed too good to be true. I just went for it. It felt like a deck that if I waited, I would never have in my collection. And it was a deck that had spoken so loudly and strongly to me using my daughters that I did not want to miss out on it. So those were 2 decks that I bought. Those are my 2 cheats. And then there was only 1 book, which is unbelievable for me because I'm a book buyer. I buy books and it's ridiculous how many books I buy. But there was only 1 book. Now, I'd been doing loads of goddess study through January, February. It was still ongoing. Loads of Irish mythology study as well, working with the Morrigan, working with Bridget. And of course, in that study, the Dagger came in. I visited Newgrange, where the Dagger is based and lived in Ireland. I've actually been there twice. And the stories of the Dagger linked to the Morrigan have really impacted me this year. Plus I had that experience in the woods which made me create that big artwork, which was Bridget and the Morrigan and the Dagger combined. And then I had a really unbelievable experience at my altar, where the Dagger came in, and I ended up buying this. It was only a few pounds. It's a Pagan Portals book. I think I paid £2.20 for it. I really wanted a book to read more. I wanted a focused book just on the Dagger. I decided after my experience at the altar that if deity comes in and actually speaks directly to you, then that's probably a good enough reason to go and buy a book. So this was my 1 book. So those were my 3 depth year, not fails, adaptions. My 3 adaptions for Q1, and I don't regret any of them. I think the self-care in that flexibility, felt like self-care for me, and each of those purchases felt like the right thing to do. However, I now need to tighten up. Yeah, it's great to be flexible. I think depth years do need to be flexible. But as soon as you've made it flexible, tighten up the rules again around it. Because what happened for me in depth year, if we go month by month, I hit January after a 2020 shopping spree to match any shopping spree. Cold turkey in January, and it felt like my feet had been kicked out from underneath me, and the need and the urge to keep spending was immense. There was no peace and calm and big skies in January. I just wanted to buy everything and had to keep dragging myself away from that want. At that point, my Amazon shopping basket was really good as a holding place. Don't buy it. Put it in the wish list, not the basket, not the basket. Freudian slip. Put it in the wish list, not the basket. That really helped. Implementing a pause really helped. Throughout January, it made me realise that if you can just pause and give it 24 hours, normally 24 hours in, even 12 hours in, sometimes even a few hours in, that I must buy it feeling it just goes, and then it's replaced with a wow, I did it, I'm still on depth year. So January, it was a battle between wanting it, pause, wanting it, pause, wanting it, pause. So it was quite a big battle throughout January. By the end of January and February, I wasn't interested in buying anything. Those big skies had swooped down on me, and there was a lot of peace and calm. And I just thought, this is going to be a breeze. There's no way I'm going to step out of this feeling. I do not want to buy anything. Even if I do want it, I don't want it, if that makes sense. I love this open sky tranquility that I'm feeling. However, in March, after the acquisition of this deck, January's feeling of, oh, I must buy, I want to buy, did come back in. It is like cracking open a door and letting that shopping frenzy back in. So March, I did have to battle again. I put loads of things back in my Amazon basket. I was not being so careful in what I was watching online. I was seeing things, many things made it into my basket and sat there, and I had to walk away and then take them out of my basket and put them on the wish list. It was almost like, well, I've blown it now, let's just buy everything. It took quite a lot to pull it back to calm and peace and depth here again. So I think if you are going to be flexible when things like this happen that do really impact you and have a meaning and you can justify buying them, by all means be flexible if you feel that that feels like self-care, which is what these three did. But as soon as you've flexed, rein it back in and put the rules back around again. So I ended Q1 thinking, well, what am I in now? Am I in a no buy or am I in a low buy? My aim is still no buy, but with opportunities, if they arise, for self-care buys. So I think I've put myself into a low buy year, but only if it feels like one of these buys did, and only if I then put the boundaries back round again. And boundaries, that is such a big word for depth year. Boundaries, I would not have equated depth year with boundaries and chakra healing. I'm currently in the middle, I've got it right here, in the middle of a chakra study. This book was bought last year, by the way, it's not a buy. This book so far has been amazing, and I bought it because I kept getting a whisper in my ear saying, root chakra, you're not grounded, you're not grounded. Didn't even know anything about the chakras. Started reading this book. The root chakra is all about keep escaping to your head, having no boundaries. It often manifests as eating disorders, and you've heard me talk on this channel before about weight gain, weight loss. I've lived with eating disorders all my life, which I am currently battling and clawing my way out of. But studying the root chakra and boundary work, it made me realise that a wounded root chakra means that you have no boundaries and there is no encasing to say when enough is enough. With spending, that can play out with spending as well. So healing my root chakra, I've been trying to get more in contact with my body again and get out of my head. And it made me realise that I often spend when I'm in my head. I spend when I'm overwhelmed, and I eat when I'm overwhelmed, and I spend when I'm bored, and I eat when I'm bored, and I spend when I'm in my head thinking about things and justifying things, and I also eat when I'm in my head. And over the last 3 years of being lost in binge eating disorder, I have completely lost contact with my body, completely. I am literally, my head has become my body. And reading this book has made me realise that I need to get back in touch with my body to heal. So I've been doing, I've started exercising again, and I've done some quite hard exercise sessions to make my body ache so that I can feel my boundaries. And that calmed down the need to spend. Boundary work, feeling where your edges are, putting boundaries in so that you can say enough is enough. Who would have thought that exercising would help with the depth year? But that's what I found, and I think it's linked to the root chakra. So if you are in a depth year and you have lost control again and you are spending and you want to get back to the big skies of depth year, put some boundary work in. Exercise. It's really helped me this first few days of April, the first couple of weeks of April, it's really helped. So that is something I really wasn't expecting. So I had some spends, self-care spends. However, there was so much that I wanted to buy that I didn't buy. Oh my gosh. And the top tip is to keep a list of what you didn't buy, because it's hysterical when you look back. So for January's list it's over pages. So there were things like the Mythic Tarot, Oracle of Mystical Moments, the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. Oh my gosh, the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, I had to sit on my hands, and the pause before that went away took days. So that was a toughie. Also the Gaian Tarot, that took days as well to go away. The Tattoo Tarot, Tarot of the Divine, the Morgan Greer in a tin. Cosmic Slumber Tarot was another one I had to sit on my hands for. Japaritsi Tarot, another one, took days. Also, researching goddesses and my research work opened up a rabbit hole about how Christianity has denied goddess culture and absolutely obliterated goddess culture, and that got me into a research rabbit hole, which made me want so many books. So When God Had a Wife, the Gnostic Gospels, the Isles of Many Gods, Jesus and the Lost Goddesses, the Hidden Goddesses, all books that appeared out of this new rabbit hole of research that I desperately wanted and had to walk away from. Realising that Barbara Walker was the same woman that wrote all my knitting books that I'd had from university. So the woman, Barbara Walker, this tarot deck that I've got that I love, realising that she was the same person made me research her work. So there were the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. That was another book that I really had to go and pause on. And it's just reminded me there is another book. I bought for £2 on Kindle the guidebook to go with my Barbara Walker Tarot, because I couldn't get the guidebook anywhere. I was searching for it and it was over £200, out of print, over £200, and then it suddenly appeared on Kindle for £2, so I got it. So that was another one. Feminist Fairy Tales, another Barbara Walker book. The Crone, Women of Age, Wisdom and Power, all Barbara Walker books. A lot of these books as well, rather than just putting them in my Amazon wish list, because Amazon's dangerous when you're on a depth year, I found for books it was really good to go onto Goodreads and put them on my Goodreads want to read list instead. Kept me away from the shopping element of it. So Goodreads was really useful as well. Courses, I've never taken a course in my life. I can't afford courses. And yet this is all January. I kept getting links to Domestica and the other course one, which I can't remember. These courses were actually in my basket ready to click on. So there were 2 watercolour courses, there were 2 embroidery courses, there was a paper cutting storybooks course. It was about £45 worth of courses that I then deleted out of my basket and walked away from. But there were crazy things as well in there as well. At one point I was researching buying harps, or renting a harp to learn to play a harp. As a little girl, I'd always dreamed of playing harps, and I am a grade 8 pianist. There's my piano there. That idea of using the strings to pluck, I just thought, I just know that I would be able to do that. I'd get that. So I started researching harps, and at one point I thought, right, I'm going to hire a harp for a year. So yeah, things like that were coming up for me as well. So weird and crazy things ended up being researched, and I had to walk away from that too. So getting to those big peaceful skies of depth year, I did have to go over a lot of stepping stones of things that I did want that I didn't buy. Keeping a list of them was really fun, and implementing a pause, like I say, sometimes it took a few days, is the depth year gold. That's your key to success, that pause. Also using your Amazon wish list rather than an Amazon basket, or using Goodreads for books on your to be read or want to read list on Goodreads. I learned to be flexible, but then to put the rules back in around it. After buying the last deck in March, so the second deck I bought, I did feel that January, oh my gosh, I want to buy things, come back. So I did revisit some of the things in my Amazon basket and tried to talk myself into it, and did have to re-implement the pause. Also other flower oracles I've been looking at, those all ended up in a basket at one point, and I had to walk away from those. And it was at times tricky again, but I put the rules back round. The story medicine deck as well, which is a indie deck, that as well I put a pause around. So still loads of temptation, but those big skies are coming back, I can feel it. So I learned not to be scared to change the rules if needed, to be flexible, but to make sure you tighten up again around that flexibility. So, and the boundary work, I think, was the biggest surprise. Chakra work, boundary work, body work, exercise, it all took away that desire to escape into my head with shopping lists. And then the last thing I learned was to celebrate my wins. So not to beat myself up about the fact that I bought a book or I bought a deck, but to also celebrate what all the wins I'd had. There were so many things I could have bought and wanted to buy and I didn't. And the things that I already had that I've gone deep on. The Osho Zen, I spent a month going so deep on this deck. Really, really loved doing that. The True Heart Intuitive Tarot, I spent another month going super, super deep on this deck. Again, I loved that. I've been learning my Thoth still and spending weeks working with this deck. Just really giving it time and focus and attention. I've started working with the Magician's deck, and I've read this book and I've been giving that time and attention. My Weaver's Oracle as well, and journaling. Books that I've read. Oh my gosh, I really wanted to work through this, and I've done that. I've done loads and loads of goddess research. Been working through this book. Both of these books were read and studied and really focused on. All of those done. My chakra book now, my chakra study has started. There's loads being focused on from things I've already got. My thoughts are not scattered into the new. They are brought back home and focused on what I've already got. And I'm really pleased with myself for that. That is the whole point of depth year for me, to focus my attention on things that I've already got that I haven't learned yet, that I want to learn, rather than this constant scattering out into the new and accomplishing for me what I felt like was nothing. It's also meant I've had more time in the art studio. I have so many art supplies, and I did think, am I going to ever have time in my life at 52 to use up all of these art supplies? So I've started using them, and I put much more time in the art studio. I've been painting like I said I wanted to. I've been drawing, I've been doing mixed media, I've been paper cutting. So going deep, have I been going deep with what I've already got? Yes, I have. So that's it for Q1 of depth year. It became a low buy rather than a no buy because of self-love and self-care and time spent at my altar. It's been a quarter where I have experienced that peaceful calm of no buy, and felt those big skies come in, which has been lovely. It is a quarter where I've understood that that pause can take away what can seem like an insurmountable desire to spend, and it will go away. It's been a quarter where I've discovered the tools of using Goodreads and my Amazon wish list instead of baskets. It's been a quarter where I've linked spending and that need to spend to chakra healing, to the root chakra, to body work, and connecting with my body and getting out of my head to stop spending. And it's been a quarter where the things I wanted to dive deep with, I have, and I've loved it. Okay, editing me, because no video is finished until there's a shot of me with no makeup on, having just got out of bed. But that by the by, I forgot one of the best things about depth year, how could I forget, is having a depth year buddy. I have a depth year buddy. We talk every month on the phone. We give each other updates, encouragement, and we just chat through what we're doing in life and what we're finding out about. Have a depth year buddy if you're doing this. That is without doubt, hands down, the best thing about depth year. So I'm going to put that in here and back to a slightly more awake me. So plans for moving forward, more of the same, searching for big skies, more healing, more body work, less in my head, more excitement of the things I've already got. I will be flexible if it comes up. I'm not going to go searching for those things to buy. But if it does arise and it's self-loving, then yes, I am going to allow myself to be flexible. So I think I'm saying low buy, not no buy. And that's it, guys. That is my Q1 depth year update. It's quite a ride, and if you're doing a depth year too, then please let me know if any of that's been useful. If you've got tips and tricks yourself, then tell me, share it. Let's get the comment section gold going. If there's anything else you want to know about depth year or you want to see me try, then also let me know. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.